say about their mental states, or even an analysis of my own mental states when I believed in this thing being true. But they would all agree to the case that they are referencing some external state of the world.
Yeah, what's the argument for that, pal? Do you have any form of
The
empirical work for it?
All
Or
the statement. Yeah, I gave you my own self as an
your
example.
own? Well, I just don't have that intuition. I don't have like that access to my own
It's
mental
not
states.
an intuition.
Yeah, but I also don't. I have like conflicting access to my own mental states. Usually, whenever I'm talking about my own preferences or whenever I'm making moral statements, I'm just talking about my preferences. So, well,
Is my mic that loud?
yes.
It's not loud. It's just like super static.
Oh my God! Someone mute B, man. Can we get a
What
mute?
did you say?
Can we get a mute on the man
Yo,
of beam?
Shinra, I have too many parts for you to be talking.
Wait,
Are
You might just
Shinra, are you a
know
chemist now?
negative rhetoric. Anyway,
Yeah.
Shinra, what did you say?
That nigga definitely has odor.
Look, since when did this guy have owner? Wait, never mind. My bad,
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
My bad.
Give me that for.
Anyways, look.
Bro, you give me an eighth, yo. Well, stop talking to me.
No, you just had to pay you 25 for Discord pairs. You fucking freak.
No, that got nothing to do with it. I said that regardless.
You know how much it costs.
Yo, Jay.
Look, Plutus, we were looking for a defense of your metaphysical view.
How does stupid ass nigga be in the side with bread?
You know the hell you
Why-
said,
why
and
PN is
I
being
asked you to
stingy,
repeat
bro?
and you did it.
Look, Plutus, I just have like opposing access to my own mental state. So usually whenever I'm like introspecting on,
don't have access to a mental. Wait, what does that
no,
mean?
like when okay,
Opposing
from
your
the
mental
immediate
state.
access I have to my own mental states, I seem to be getting different impressions than your own. Dumb fuck.
Again, I'm talking about people that hold these beliefs, and I'm using myself as an example as one of these people. You don't have to have.
What do you mean
access.
people that hold these beliefs? Are you talking about error theorists?
No, I'm saying to people that believe in morality, and I'm saying for those people, if you could ask this group of those people, a certain amount of them, wouldn't that say they're referencing some external factual world?
Yeah, so do you have like any empirical work outside of yourself that actually justifies that?
I don't need one outside of myself, but again, we could like ask other people, I guess.
Yes, I
Like,
think
maybe
you
we could ask-
do.
so maybe we could like go on Google and then ask if like Christians believe in objective morality. And we're gonna get a bunch of different
Christians
answers,
just,
but
I mean, most Christians would tell you that they believe whatever God says is moral. That's just
That's
divine
fine.
command theory. It's basically just divine
that's fine. Divine
subjectivism.
command theory is still propositional. So even
Divine
that,
command theory is just a form of.
wait, that's fine. Divine command theory is still propositional.
That's fine.
So
You can hold to cognitivism and not okay.
Can I finish? So at that point, it's propositional, and then we can just like analyze why those specific propositions are wrong.
Yeah.
Do you grant the divine command theory is a position that people hold?
Yeah, I grant that it's a position people hold.
Okay.
Yes, it's just a type of
So you
subjectivism. You'd agree that, like, what's it called? If most Christians will tell you that if God says X is like immoral, then it is immoral, right?
No, because maybe God's not real. I mean, if God's not real,
What?
God's
I'm
not
talking
saying
about
what it
divine
says,
command
right?
theorists.
Wait, no, I'm saying divine command theory is predicated on the existence of a God that holds these moral judgments.
No.
If that God does not
I'm just
exist-
asking you. Do you think that if you asked a Christian if God decided that this was immoral, then they would say that now it is immoral?
Yes, and then they would
Okay,
be
so
wrong.
it seems as if they grant some form of
Can I
subjectivism,
finish
which is
that?
predicated
I'm
off of
just
his
gonna speak anyway.
preferences.
The reason why a theory applies here is because then when you ask them, is murder wrong, and they say yes because God said it's wrong. Their justification is contingent on the existence of this God. If this God does not exist, their reason for believing does not hold. Their external claim, in fact, maps onto nothing because there is no God.
Okay,
Like,
so
that
quite
shit is not
literally,
real.
quite literally, all they're saying, usually one error theorist to do says that we're talking about some mind-independent reality whenever we're making moral claims.
Does not matter.
Anyways, however, what's it called?
Can you
If you
engage with what I
say
said?
that,
Yes
like,
or
if you
no?
say a
Can
good
you engage with
percentage
what I
of
said, yes
people,
or no?
if you say a good percentage of people are, like, for example, divine command theorists, right? They wouldn't be basing their morals off some form of, like, mind-independent reality because clearly the moral facts that they believe exist are dependent on the mind.
That does not matter. That's what I'm saying. Are
Okay,
you
buddy.
going to respond to what I said, yes or no?
What was the other thing? The other thing was just like what's it called? I'm pretty sure it was just the enabler of these moral facts existing according to like divine command theorists to literally just be God existing. But that doesn't really mean anything because they wouldn't be talking about some mind independent reality.
That does not matter to what I said. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
so just like repeat what I said.
No.
That morality is propositional, that morality is wrong because the basis for it does not exist. So they are incorrect in that statement.
Okay, one,
Therefore, all that moral claims are wrong.
Yeah,
you have
so
an issue with that observation.
okay.
And if so, specify it.
So wait, one, every single error theorist who's ever existed would say that whenever they're saying it's wrong, whenever they're saying it's wrong, it's a mind independent thing.
I don't have these general statements. Just respond to what I just said.
Okay, so perfect. So then it just seems like you're just misunderstanding what error theory is. But the second thing is like, if what's it called? The thing that would actually.
I don't have like an infinite amount of like irrelevant side.
Don't worry, it's irrelevant, but okay. But the thing that actually be making these statements wrong. Okay, are you done?
Groups of people that make moral claims that are incorrect.
Okay, look,
and then
that's compatible with subjective. Oh my god!
And then you try and analyze the position of error theory. You are not answering my question. That is irrelevant.
Okay, so
it's actually just a yes or no question, Shinra. Do you agree that these divine command theorists are incorrect in their assessments about morality? Yes or no?
Yes, they are incorrect. Okay, they are incorrect about like the assessment of morality, but that's also compatible with multiple other like forms of anti-realism, like subjectivism. A subjectivist would also tell you, a subjectivist would also tell you, a subjectivist would also tell you that if someone makes a moral statement that doesn't align with their preferences, then they are mistaken in actually judging so. So again, that's also compatible with other forms of like anti-realism. One error theorist would always want to say is that whenever people are making moral statements, they're trying to talk about some mind-independent reality. But if they aren't talking about that, then I don't understand what would be the thing that makes this thing false, aside from just their own mental states or changes to their own mental states. So now you can respond, buddy old pal.
Define subjectivism.
Define subjectivism. Moral statements are just reports about attitudes.
Overarching point, which is everyone that makes moral claims is wrong. Subjustification of giving a group of people that make these moral claims that seems to be out some objectivity with the wrong divine command theory.
Yeah,
now, if you want an even broader one, we could like maybe analyze what's that retard's name? And we can like analyze these like categorical comparisons. I can explain why there's an issue with them. Like we could go down a list of every single moral position that you believe exists that maps onto anything external to the individual invoking them, and I can explain why they're all problematic. But based on your inability to engage with anything I've said, and giving me an irrelevant description of your opinions about error theory that have nothing to do with my argument at all.
So look,
like even if you grant the error theory is like limited to like scope X, and I'm like arguing about this road to scope Y, the fact that Y supervenes X means that this is completely irrelevant. Like, my argument is that every single moral claim that people make is wrong, and error theory is like, only moral claims about the external world are wrong. The fact that mine supervenes that means that if mine is true, error theory also holds true. So, you have yet to give me an actual issue with my position, and I'm on my hands and knees begging for the issue.
So look, I could agree that like whenever people are trying to make like statements or moral statements, if they are trying to talk about some mind-independent reality, then they would be wrong. However, every single error theorist to just say every single moral statement is wrong because all of us are trying to talk about some mind-independent reality, which is just false. So whenever you give me the example of like, whenever you give me the example of like subjectivism, the thing that would actually falsify moral statements under their view is a changing their preferences. However, if the changing their preferences is just something completely mind dependent, then you can't affirm every single moral statement is false under a subjectivist view, because then there would at least be some moral statements that actually do align with their preferences. Therefore, not every single moral statement is false. You'd actually need to give me some form of account as to the thing that would be a falsifier towards moral statements being true or not, right? And it would have to be something that is relevantly mind independent. If it wasn't relevantly mind independent, then I could literally just say that like, these statements just map onto our preferences, and if they do map onto our preferences, then like on every single moral statement will be false. But you can respond again.
Oh, you done? Cool. So one, I think there's an issue of way subjectivism defines morality.
What'd you say?
I just don't believe. I just don't think with subjectivism you're invoking falls under the definition of morality.
Okay, wait. I did not understand. Would you repeat that one more time?
I have an issue with way you're defining subjectivism, and I don't think it maps onto like the definition of morality right now. Based on what you said, I just say this isn't a moral position in any more. When I described it to me like color preferences is moral. Like this just doesn't seem like a moral issue.
Okay.
When I describe.
Go ahead.
What? You told me to wait what?
No, go ahead.
Hey, Pog.
So, because I don't think it's describing anything about morality anymore, when I describe your color preferences describes morality, subjectivism is just completely irrelevant to my error theory. I just believe this completely exists outside of any actual moral debate. I believe it's like when people bring up fucking compatibilism and we're talking about free will versus determinism, it's just a complete red herring.
Yeah.
Like the way you're describing subjectivism seems just to be like some reference to preferences. I just don't believe that's what we could look like definitions of morality. We could look at the denotation. We could look how it's used in common speech. We could look how people use it even in like specific moral debate. It just doesn't seem to be the case that this is an actual moral position. This seems to be something that is uniquely different.
Okay, so that's unique. So denying that subjectivism is an actual, like, what's it called? Denying subjectivism is actually a metaethical position is unique, for one. But two, I need you to provide me any sort of like actual evidence as to why the way we use morality is supposed to be referencing some form of mind independent thing, which was your initial burden whenever we actually got into this conversation. But look, it's the same as when you said that, oh, it would be irrelevant to any form of moral debate. But the issue is it isn't, because for it to actually be irrelevant, you'd have to be, again, just presupposing that whenever people are doing like regular moral talk, they actually wouldn't be presupposing, or they wouldn't actually be operating under a subjectivist framework. I don't actually see any sort of like good motivation for me to actually, dude, are you okay? But look, I don't actually see any sort of good motivation as to why I should believe that whenever people are talking about morality, they're talking about something mind independent. Maybe if you have some empirical work that is external to your own personal opinion, right, then you would actually be able to justify as to why whenever we're making moral statements, it'd be something external to our mind. But it seems as if you haven't been able to do so. Now you can go ahead.
So I just did it, maybe. First of all, we go back to this issue of like supervenance. My argument is even just limited to mind independent statements. I believe even when you're trying to make some mind dependent statement, like for example, like divine command theory, which seems, at least based on what Plato said, seems to still be like this mind independent system. There seems to be a case that even that like falls flat. So we're not just making about like mind dependent systems.
Yeah,
That's
do you
irrelevant
think
to
that?
I'm saying we've already been over this.
Yeah, do you think?
And again,
Okay, go ahead.
Cool. Actually, you respond to that first.
Do you think that like do you think if I okay, I thought I was responding.
It's for because I was trying to finish.
Okay.
It's for any like propositional moral position. I don't believe anything that's non-propositional is clearly just not moral by definition.
Yeah. Okay. So one, subjectivism is like, what's it called? Is a proposition. Oh, how do I explain this? Subjectivism. Okay. Look, but subjectivism is a branch of cognitivism, so it'd obviously be propositional. But you're trying to say that like things like divine command theory would be false because the truth maker of all of their moral claims, that being God existing, would just be like what's it called? With all of their like, oh, the truth maker just isn't present, therefore all of their moral statements is false. I can like grant that. However, that doesn't actually extend to other types of like subjectivism. You could say that if somebody is just like a cultural relativist and they believe that all moral statements are like given truth value or like proven to be true depending on the attitudes of like general society, you could say that that would be a truth maker which actually does exist. Or you could say that if people are just talking about their own preferences and they say, oh yeah, I prefer X, right, then that would also just be an accurate report of their own personal attitudes, right? So if anyways, but look, if they're just reporting their own personal attitudes towards this thing, then I don't understand how you can actually question its truth value, especially when you said that we have immediate access to our own mental states. So if people are saying, if people whenever they say X is wrong are just saying I don't prefer X, right, that would just be like a moral claim which is true. So yeah, no, I don't understand.
Again, that's the issue. That's circular fundamentally. When I tell you, like, very clearly that I do not believe these preferential statements in any way map onto the definition of morality, and then you continue trying to invoke these things as moral claims, that is a circle. That is like...
Wait, repeat what you said?
When the position I'm holding is, and like, you seem to fail to respond to the position I invoked earlier, that these preferential claims are not moral claims, denotatively, these do not fall under the definition of morality. When you continue to try and invoke these things as some defeated to my position, when we're having a moral debate, there's an issue. Like, you'll keep trying to invoke this non-moral category as, like, this relevant thing in this moral discussion. Like, it just holds no weight here. And it's like us having a small debate, and then you, like, bring up how people can have, like, favorite colors. That is not a moral position in the same way. Like, I do not believe saying I dislike X is a moral position. These things seem just all outside of the definition of morality.
Yeah, you'd have to be presupposing the falsity of my view for that actually to work. So again, whenever you're saying, whenever you say that statements about our own preferences would actually be what's it called, or statements about our own preferences wouldn't actually be moral statements. Instead, it'd be something completely external to that. You'd also have to be trying to confine yourself to something very, very specific, which is just the fact that whenever we're making statements about preferences, that is not what we mean whenever we're talking about morality. You said that there are several definitions that this actually conflicts with about morality. So now what I'm looking for is, do you have any form of definitions that you can provide to me where they state that morality is just something that's independent of our preferences? Any sort of like philosophically agreed upon definitions? You can go on like the SCP, you can go anywhere, you can go on the IEP. No definition of morality will actually justify the claim that you're making, because it's just fundamentally false. The entire reason as to why there's entire meta-ethical debates like this, where we're arguing over whether or not subjectivism is true or error theory, the entire reason is because we can't actually agree upon a single solid definition. If it was something that could be universally agreed upon and we could just erase like subjectivism from the equation, then it wouldn't be a position that is like highly held as it is right now. So again, look, that really isn't the most relevant part of the argument, but you can respond again. Hopefully, you give me a better response.
Whilst going reversal to one, the comparison.
Wait, can you repeat that?
Release. So one, the final claim we made of like, we have this discussion, therefore this is a general position. Fuck no. Compatibilism exists, denotatively speaking, it does not separate itself from determinism. Yet it is still a position that people hold as this like alternative stance. So I actually just don't give a fuck if people hold this position in moral discourse. That doesn't matter. People are retarded and people do retarded shit. Now, if on like definitions that contradicts like preferences being moral, we could like analyze them. We could like look at. I could probably pull up a video right now. A fucking, what's that nigga name? Charlie Kirk. Yeah, Charlie Kirk talking to Jax. Like he invokes this morality as, what you're describing isn't moral. What's moral is through God. Like if you're describing a preference, that's not moral. That's just what you like. Like,
oh my God.
Literally anyone that holds to any stance where objects morality is real, fundamentally it has an issue with preference being moral. Preferences being this moral thing. Now, if you want to look outside of that, like the divine command theory, more questionable. Preferences of the individual, which is what you're referencing right now, still do not dictate morality. Want to look at non-cognitive dispositions. Emotivism, the preferences of the individual do not demote morality in the way you are acting like they do. Like, it just is simply not the case that in any position outside of subjectivism, which again, I do not care about because it's a retarded position, the same way I do not care about compatibilism, that subjectivism actually makes sense as a coherent moral position. Again, this is no different than stating that I like red as a moral claim. Like, no. And if I said, well, in my moral system, I like red's moral claim, I don't care. Your moral system just denotatively falls outside of the fold of any other moral system.
Yeah, so
that does not matter.
The Charlie Kirk
case, but in any other realm of moral discourse, this is amoral.
Okay, so the Charlie Kirk example that you gave is quite literally just him agreeing to subjectivism. So whenever, usually I can grant you, look, so one, I can grant you, for example, that people would agree that, like, what's it called, in some cases, or at least most religious people would say, in some cases, that your preferences shouldn't actually decide what is moral. Instead, what should decide what is moral is God, right, and whatever God says. However, you do realize that if he commits himself to the view that whatever God says and whatever God prefers is moral, by what you said yourself, then he would be committing himself to some form of subjectivist view, because he'd have to be saying that what is moral is decided by God's preferences, which is something that is mind dependent. So look, we can add the divine command theorists into this too. If they believe that, what's it called, that moral statements are proven true, or like morality being true is actually, or moral statements I should say, is actually dependent on God's mind and is dependent on God's preferences, then yes, they are by definition subjectivist. In the same way how you could say cultural relativist, they don't say their own preferences is what decides what's moral, they say the preferences of society generally. So again, in the same light, you can still not say that, like, what's it called, preferences decide what's moral while not appealing to your own preferences. But we've gone back and forth about this enough. Like, I think I've proven my point already, and we can just like do closing statements or whatever. I don't really care.
Closing statements according to Refuge is about one. Charlie Kirk does not accept suggest morality is moral. He just states outright no, it comes from God. Now, if you want to like analyze divine commentaries being like relativist, it's fucking retarded. Like I never said the first few times I just isn't the case. Most people that believe in divine commentary would like reject the idea that God's preferences could change such way, but he holds different moral positions. It seems to be the case that they exist external to God, to the extent where God could not change in the way that they change. Like murder could never be right because God could never exist in a way in which murder was right, seemingly because that would make God evil, and God cannot be evil. Like the average Christian is never going to accept a world in which rape's moral, because they're going to reject the possibility of God having a mental state where rape is moral. So it seems to be the case that these moral states exist prior to God as facts of reality. God is beholden to them because of his omnibenevolence. And then from that, because God is omniscient, we can use what God tells us to inform our moral positions. But the idea that God generates them is fucking retarded. Again, if you ask most religious people, they're just not going to say that God tomorrow would ever, like, possibly, conceivably, like, grant that rape is moral.
Okay.
Like, no, that's
Are you done? Okay, perfect. So, look, it's just like very simple. It just sounds like you're taking a different road with the urethra dilemma, but it's fine. So, but whenever you say that, like, of course, his preferences will never change. So his mental state towards this thing will never change. So, like, this thing is always going to be
that's
immoral.
not what I'm saying.
That's like perfect.
No.
Okay. What
No,
are you
saying? That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying his preferences would never change because the facts exist external to God.
Okay. I get that part. I'll just address it later on. But look, certain religious people would agree that no, like anything God says is moral. So anything God prefers is actually moral. So again, perfect famous example on Discord. You could look at like other debaters who also would agree with this. But aside from this, is like literally fine. I think you could like there isn't enough empirical work for you to actually say most religious people take this route of the urethra dilemma, where something is moral external to what God thinks about it, right? Again, I don't think there's any actual empirical work showing that they side with this side of the urethra dilemma compared to the other. If Charlie Kirk was actually like committed to the view that like anything is moral is actually just contingent on God's mental states towards this thing, but God's mental states just never change, so this thing is always going to be moral. He'd still be agreeing that like it being moral is contingent on his mental states, right? So again, it just seems as if he took that route, then he'd be a subjectivist. But if he took like another route, then of course like you could say that like he wouldn't be a subjectivist. That's like perfectly fine. But look, the only thing I actually care about is whether or not you have any empirical work actually verifying all of the empirical claims you're making. But it doesn't seem as if you actually do.
Well, I'm thinking of other observations. We could like
do you have like a statistic
about like the genocide. We could analyze a bunch of debates about the genocides in the Bible. In every single debate, the justification going to be given is that God had reasons to do this thing, and therefore it is okay.
What you said? Repeat what you said?
We could analyze debates about the genocide. I think the Edomites in the Bible. In every single example that I watched, dozens of them, the answer is God's like plan is oh so great. We don't know what he's saying. In the book of Job itself, it's like, who is you to like disturb my counsel with words without knowledge? The Christian theology is very consistent about this idea of when God does things, they are good. The idea that like they're good reflective of God's actions is not reflected in the apologetics of God's actions. Again, if we analyze these videos, the position that you're taking would lead to the conclusion of these people are going to say, okay, God killed these people because it's good. But no apology says that. We could analyze these videos. And the reason they don't say that is because they don't believe it to be true.
Yeah,
like this is a phantom position.
Look, I understand that you could be taking like an extremely it's just an extremely small sample size. You can say that, oh yeah, I have X and Y empirical work, right, that actually justifies it. But I need something actually that's way more substantive than that, and your personal watching of debates to actually justify the claim. It's like, look, the reason why people take completely different routes on the urethra dilemma and why people don't generally just agree on one specific aspect is because of the fact that people have completely different views on whether or not like morality is predicated on God, or whether or not God just like conforms to morality. But look, it's fine. It doesn't actually seem as if you have any statistics, so there's not like much more to talk about. Also, I need to go and like I'm going to the toilet, dude. I'm going to the toilet.
I don't care. I'll just say it.
It's like I am not going to the toilet, Lamau.